Writing is a solitary act, but the business of being a writer requires a network. Editors, artists, and fellow writers who can provide feedback and advice. This isn't your squad. This is a chain of knowledge that nourishes the writer's ability to get their stories in front of an audience. How does a writer build a network? Is it better to join one that already exists? There's some risks associated with plugging in. What role do readers and fans play in the creation of your network, if any? This week, C.L. Cannon blesses us with another set of books that you may like if you're a fan of Rosemary and Rue by Sean McGuire. Then we take 60 seconds to tell you what is coming up in our Go Indie Minute, and give a shout out to March of the Writers, which kicked off March 1st. Finally, we dive into our panelist game for this week's Epilogue. So, pull your tool and plug into the entire Imperial Network, because it is time for us to connect through the medium of another fantastic episode of This Week in Indies with your host, SM Hillman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Indies. I'm your host, SM Hillman. Networking can be crucial to helping a writer forward their career. But how does someone go from solitary craft, which writing definitely almost always is, to creating a circuit of professionalism that helps them advance their career? Our panelists are here today to discuss that very topic. So, without further ado, I will introduce the actual people you came here to see. Soon I get my mouse working. There we go. Brian?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Brian Tan, fiction author extraordinaire, I guess, and co-host with Joe Compton and Saving a Seat and Wrestling with the Indies. And happy to be here as always. Catch me on Blue Sky and Fanbase at author Brian Tan.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today, Brian. Wayne?
That would be me. I'm Wayne Trammell. I write pretty much everything. My fiction stuff I don't talk about here because that's the day job. I'm a non-fiction writer, very ordinaire, but I do my best. You can find me on Facebook for the moment, Blue Sky, WayneTrammell.com, and happy to be here, Coach. Put me in.
Will do. We're going to throw you right in. Thank you so much. Vanessa?
Hey, everybody. I am Vanessa Junta. I write primarily urban fantasy with horrific elements, and then shorts are usually horror. I'm also a professional fiction editor, specializing in speculative fiction, and I do some romance and thriller kind of stuff as well. And I run a writerly support and education network called The Writer's Troop. And you can find me, you can check out my Sleep bio, and it has all the links to all the things.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. CJ Cannon, or CL Cannon, CJ. I'm so sorry. CL Cannon.
Hey guys, you can find me at clcannon.net or fictionatlas.com. I do a lot of things on Go Indie now, like the Indie Connection and the monthly marketing tip. And at Fiction Atlas, I also specialize in marketing and networking and making connections with other writers and how people can market their books by networking. So I'm really happy to be on this episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you can't see her, I don't think. Okay, so little cat is. Oh, there she is. There she is. She's co-hosting today. Aren't you co-hosting? No, I got to talk. You can't do that. Okay.
She's like, yeah, I can.
Yeah, apparently you have to learn by now. You don't tell the cat tells you.
I know.
That's how it works.
Okay, so as we move into this discussion, just a thought. Usually we arrange one question specifically for new writers. I kind of feel like everything today is going to be relevant to all writers, really, but also new ones. So we're not going to necessarily focus one question on new writers. Just keep that in mind as you're giving your thoughts. Right? Got it? Okay. So we'll start with Brian. I've contextualized networking as it's kind of a ring of professionals who are helping people, a writer build themselves up. How accurate do you think that is? How do you contextualize what a network is?
I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Look, being indie is tough, man. I mean, I've been at this now for coming up on 10 years, I think, and I still ain't cracked any sort of codes. You know, networking is the lifeblood of anybody, but especially when you're an independent. You got to have the right people around you. I've said this in the past. I'll keep saying it. You've got to you got to have people around you that have your best interest at heart, that are willing to teach you, willing to be there with you, and to, that have the right mindset of, rising tide lifts all boats. You got to have a village around you. And if you don't, you're going to find it very, very difficult. Writing may be a solitary thing, but getting your writing out there, that's a group effort.
Right. Absolutely. Wayne?
Yeah. You can't overestimate the importance of networking. I mean, I've said all along that typing is solitary, writing is social, right? If you think about all the different things that go into creating a written piece of work. I mean, sitting at your keyboard is part of it, and it's vital, but at some point you need input on whether it's any good. You need support and encouragement from people who, as much as I love my bride, does not understand what goes on when you're trying to create something. She's lovely and supportive and says everything I do is brilliant, and that's of zero value to me in the great cosmic scheme of things. So that's where we learn the business. That's where we learn how to write. That's where we steal ideas creatively and ethically, because you hear something and it triggers something else, or you hear something in a genre that you don't normally write in and go, holy cow, this is cool. It just generally is designed to keep us sane. And this has been going on for hundreds of years. I mean, the idea of the salon, which sounds very foufara and very, 19th century, that's what it was. It was networking, because people needed to be in the same place to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think that is a really excellent way to characterize it. Vanessa?
So I kind of look at it as three circles of networks that overlap in various places. So first would be like professionals, meaning the people you deal with on a professional basis, like your editors, your cover artists, beta readers to an extent, all those ones you have actual professional relationships with. And then you have like your colleagues, who would be other writers who write in your genre, who you trust their opinions about your work. And these would be people who would give you feedback on your work and give you advice for things. You go to them for that sort of professional support. And then you've got like your writerly friends, which is kind of a much greater circle, they're just people who, we kind of all do the same thing, but in different ways. I might be hanging out with the romance writers, even though I don't really write a lot of romance, or, hanging out with the sci-fi writers, and I never write sci-fi. So, and so you can get connections in all of those circles for people in all of those other circles, if that makes sense. So if you've got, one of my sci-fi writer friends had a really great experience with a particular cover artist, then I can go look at that cover artist and be like, oh, I really like their work too. And they also do stuff that I write. They do covers for stuff that I write. So let me reach out to them and let them know that a former client, hey, so-and-so referred you, and blah, blah, blah. So that's just kind of how I look at my overall sort of networking world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And it will be my mission to either co-write or get you to write a sci-fi piece at some point. I will
Soft
do it.
sci-fi.
A soft sci-fi.
We can collab, and you can do the hard sci-fi, and I can do all the other fun stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. That's where it works. CO?
I love what Vanessa just said, because a lot of people think of networking and they think of, oh, my writer friend's going to tell their audience about my stuff and it's going to spread farther. But also being able to recommend people that you trust is a big part of your networking. Editors that you've used, cover artists that you've used. So you can never nobody on this planet has ever done everything alone, and you can't be successful by kind of screaming out into the void in your very tiny space of the internet or the physical space that you're in. You're not going to get very far. There's only so much you can do by, telling your family about it or something like that. That's not the best way to network. The best way to network is to make friends, make connections in the industry. And like Wayne was saying, there's ideas that sprout from networking with other people. And it just causes everyone, that's the thing I love about it. Everyone benefits from networking. It's not a one-sided thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what you said.
Everybody said everything. Yeah, I think.
So I'm just curious if you've ever thought about how things would be different for you, running your business, say 30, even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, with much less internet connection and things like that. How do you think it would be different?
I'd probably have already pounded my keyboard into more bits than it is right now because I'd have to wait on the dial-up. But it would definitely be more difficult. The modes of networking would be different. Email is still a big thing now. Newsletters are still a big thing, but there were a lot more closely connected, like email chains. There were, lots more physical things that you would put up, and at your local places to kind of get recognition. It would not be as instantaneous or as easy as it is right now. I'm not saying that it is easy, but it would be much harder back then.
Gotcha. So we have some people here.
As one of the few people on this call who was alive 20 years ago.
Hey, you ain't the only one, bro. Come on now.
We were all alive.
That it is so much easier today. Not easy, but easier than it was back then. And some of that is navigating the evil empires of the world, but some of it is just plain old technology. I mean, if you were an indie author 20, 25 years ago, you had a garage full of books that you had to schlep around.
Yep.
It's a very different world.
And you know what? The thing was, too, is that what was wild is at one point, even if, KDP, CreateSpace and all that, even if it was a thing, it was nowhere near the machine that it is now. And you didn't have your everyday person writing books. Back then, the market, you were competing with the giants back then. So being online and doing the writing, it was just different. Now the market is so full because
it's saturated. Yeah,
it's completely saturated at this point. So it was a lot different. Where now, especially when you heard someone that you personally knew wrote a book, you had this mindset of, wow, they're like a Stephen King. They must be making all kinds of money. And then you get their book that's printed by some vanity press and it hasn't been edited. It looks so just whatever. And then you're just like, man, okay. So what's wild now is the professionalism has improved, but you're still, you're not just fighting with the big ones, the Penguin, the Scholastic. You're not fighting just them anymore. You're also fighting other indies that found a way to crack the code early, that do have the money. And, I still call them indies because, if they're not with the big presses, but they've got the money to feed the beast to keep their stuff going, where if you didn't crack the code early on or you're brand new now, that saturation minus the impact and the reach that social media gives you, you're still at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the advantage that the folks who started out 15 years ago or whatever have now is that they created their fan base early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the technology did catch up, when things became much more streamlined and much actually easier to do, and then everybody else started jumping in, these kind of already established indie authors who were already doing it as professionally as they could, and they were striving for better. They already had this fan base, which always makes it easier, right? As soon as you get a good fan base, it's going to make everything easier, because the networking that your readers do among other readers is what's going to bring more people to you in addition to the stuff that you're doing.
Right. They've had the chance to sort of educate their fan base on how to help them beat the algorithm. How then you've got people that are, before Amazon started changing the rules with how we get our reviews, they already had people doing that. I remember when I signed my first publishing contract, I thought I made it, but I wasn't getting the things that I was getting promised. And I knew of some people, and I'm not going to name names, even if I tried, I probably don't remember them because I've been hitting the head too much. But there were people that had multitudes of Amazon accounts, and they would go to their stuff and leave reviews. And they would do that with other people. And that's how they were able, there were all these little tricks to the trade back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. Now, those of us now, we can't take advantage of that because it's looked at as dishonest, and it's been changed.
Well, I mean, it is dishonest.
It is. It's very dishonest. It's very dishonest.
It is dishonest. It's not looked at as dishonest. It is absolutely dishonest.
But those little things that the gatekeepers had from back in the day are no longer there, and they've already got the benefits of it now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's start with you. If you're a writer, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new writer, just someone who wants to take it more seriously, what they're going to do. Yeah. Where would you recommend they start? Would it be with networking through like an editor who's working on their piece, networking through an artist, through an organization, or a business like yourself?
I would start small on social media and try to find local writers groups, try to find somewhere where you can get one-on-one help first, and then kind of branch out from there and maybe go to find from those people that you trust, find vetted services, and, kind of build out the scale of that.
Gotcha. Vanessa, you talked about, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You talked about finding others in your genre, authors. How do you go about that? How did you go about that?
Well, I made my own group. No, so specifically looking for people in your genre, I mean, as much as I hate it, Facebook has groups for every genre and subgenres and all kinds of stuff. So you can start there. You can start it on whatever social media platform you like. Look for the hashtag that is your genre, and you can absolutely you'll find your people. So that's probably the easiest way, I think. And also, in addition to that, if you're in an area that has conferences and conventions, that is an excellent place to go. And I know a lot of people have sort of some feels about doing in-person sort of networking, but don't think about it as networking. Think about it as making friends, because that's what it is in the end.
Right. Absolutely. Wayne, what about you? If you were to start off new, or you're just getting into the networking side, where would you go?
Yeah, in terms of the fiction writing, I'm not as old as I am chronologically. My first novel came out 10 years ago, and so I think about starting then And what I was looking for was a local writers group, right? Some place that I could meet other writers and I could show them my stuff and see how bad it sucked and get some feedback. And I think that's the important thing. I know so many new writers who are already trying to figure out the publishing game and are doing all that. No, you got to walk before you can run. You know, it's true. I mean, everything Vanessa said about there being levels, and it's so funny because when she said 3 levels, I assumed the sentence ended of hell. But you know, there are things. But start with just find people who can write, you know, and who enjoy writing and like talking about writing and can turn you on to stuff. So a local writers group. When I moved to Las Vegas 6 years ago, that was the first thing I did was I joined Sin City Writers, and to this day, most of my friends here in Las Vegas I met in or through writers events, right, in person, and so that's important. It's more important than you know, and then you can start to kind of branch out. I think you need to start wide and then narrow it down. Like if I suddenly joined Horror Writers of America, and that's the only thing that I talked about, those are the only people that I met, I would be doing myself a disservice as a writer. And especially if you write in multiple genres, you know, I just spent the last 6 years in the urban fantasy space with the Johnny Lycan trilogy. And now I've got to go back and rebuild all the relationships I had in the historical fiction community, because I'm going back to that for this new book. And so start wide and then figure out what you need and network to what you need at that time where you are as a writer is probably as close to advice as I could give somebody.
Gotcha. Brian, what do you think?
So so in a lot of ways, I do want to echo what my colleagues have said about finding local writers groups. However, don't be like me and get so frustrated that you just stop. A couple of years ago, I went to a meeting of a local writers group, and I was just completely turned off by the experience. They had one writer there that from the moment he opened his mouth, he sounded so ungodly, full of himself, like it was enough to make you want to puke. And those that know me, like, you know, CL has known me a little bit longer than everyone here. Wayne's starting to get a feel for my personality. You too, SM. But y'all know that I like to joke around. I like to have a good time. But the one thing that I have very little patience for is bullshit. And in this business, you are going to run into a lot of people that are just about bullshit. They're going to try to put themselves up on a pedestal so they can feel superior to you. So you got to be very, very careful who you interact with and realize that not every person that you meet is going to have your best interest at heart, because there are people that will try to steal your ideas. So you want to make sure that you're around people that are trustworthy. You know, this guy tried to really tell all these different anecdotes about, well, you know, me and Jim Patterson, well, you call him James, but I'm allowed to call him Jim. And it's like, bro, fuck off. Like, you're not impressing anybody. So, but it turned me off so bad that I just never went back. And I felt like, you know, because I had, you know, with my online community, because I got in really, really good. And, you know, my big break, so to speak, was writing a spinoff to Kendra Souter's book. And because Kendra had such good following, I was accepted by association. And I felt like that was enough. And for a time, things were starting to build, but they didn't build like I thought they would. So you definitely want to, when you're going to these places, don't make the mistake that I made and just get so turned on that you hold the entire group responsible for one jackass. You know, try to get to know the people. And if you do find someone that is just a complete and utter dick, maybe the person that you have jibed with sees that person as a dick as well. And if the whole thing just doesn't work, maybe the two of you can build your own. You know, don't be like me and just get, you know, I tend to teach. My best way of teaching people is to say, don't do what I did, because what I did obviously ain't work.
Gotcha. Yeah. Just as a cautionary tale, also kind of make sure your local writers group, at least some of them understand what you're writing. The first group I tried to work with on Maryland's Eastern Shore when I lived there, none of them were speculative fiction writers. None of them.
Yeah.
And they were completely perplexed by the stories I was crafting. And they were like, oh, I don't understand. Literally, I don't understand this at all. As if writing science fiction was something that no one had ever done before. So,
yeah.
But
there are
I think
people that are going to try to
point,
dissuade
this is
you.
Really important. This is really important, and I don't want to monopolize anybody else's time. But the first group you hit may not be the right group, but that doesn't mean you stop. Right?
Yep.
You don't marry
Exactly.
the first person you date. When I moved here, there were a couple of writers groups, and I went to them both, and one of them was just so not for me. First of all, I should never be the youngest person in any group. Just right. And the second thing, to your point, Sean, was talking about, I don't understand this or I don't understand that. I like a group that contains a bunch of genres because everybody tends to be a little bit. Groups that specialize in a specific genre can be super cliquey and super judgmental.
Yep. And don't let people, just because someone doesn't understand you, don't let them stop you.
Right.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
This isn't about me and Brian. Please, Vanessa and CL, please jump in. But I think it's human dynamics, right? It's whatever art you're in, you're going to find this. If you ever, I was a comedian for 20 years. There is nothing clickier or weirder or harder to break into than a group of comedians. The same is true of actors. The same is true of musicians. If you don't play what I play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Yep.
The first group you try may not be right, but there is one right out there. And by the way, there are way more writers groups in your area than you think there are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and grab some comments while we're here. AF Stewart, hello. Hello, AF. Vanessa loves Rosemary and Rue. I'll give folks a quick when I was recording the voiceover, my daughter, whose nickname is Rue, heard me. She's like, well, how did my name get in the title? I'm like, and so I had to explain that to her. But Ariel, hello, Ariel. Thanks for being here. Miss Alicia Full, thank you so much for being here, as always. Hello, AL. How you doing? Good afternoon. It's a ravenous beast. Yes, it is. Absolutely.
It will eat you. It will eat you apart. It will eat you up.
All right. I think now is a good time for me to find the media. There we go. For our indie connection. Even though technically we have
CL Cannon.
CL Cannon.
Yeah, she's already here. Wow.
Never doing these live, guys. It's too much production work.
So here we go. This is this week's Indie Connection. If you're a fan of Rosemary and Rue by Sean and McGuire.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. And today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of the October Day series Rosemary and Rue by Sean and McGuire. The first book I have for you is called Bad Girls Drink Blood by S.L. Choi. Part Sun Fae, part Blood Fae, all abomination. After years wasted dodging slurs, threats, and assassination attempts, Lane Callahan gave her past the one-finger salute and ditched her former Fae home for good. The detective agency she and her sisters run on the edge of Las Vegas limps along, with Lane doing more debt collecting and intimidating than investigating. But a gal's gotta pay the bills. Between working for low lives to bring down even lower lives, eating cheesy poofs by the buckets, and flirting with the criminally attractive bartender Teddy, who pours drinks and breaks hearts where she conducts business, Lane finally got a life worth living. When a routine job goes sideways, Lane's left holding the bag, quite literally, a sack full of stolen sun shards, the source of Sun Fae power. Without the shards, the Sun Fae will lose their magic completely, or risk death if they use their power. As far as Lane's concerned, good riddance, considering they would rather see her dead. The problem is, her father and adopted sister happen to be Sun Fae. When Lane decides to return home, Teddy insists on riding shotgun. Together they must face dark secrets and deadly choices to save the Fae bastards who almost killed Lane, or fail and watch them all burn. The second book I have for you is called Blood of Stone by Jane Faith. There's a bounty on my head, and it's going to spark a supernatural war. My name is Petra McGuire, and I'm a vampire hunter and full-blood fae living among humans. My father would rather have me in fairy serving as queen, but I want nothing to do with her tyrannical reign. But when I discover I have a changeling twin sister who's been kidnapped by the enemy King Pericles, I can't avoid fairy affairs any longer. Plunging back into the fairy world of magic, royalty, and power plays I've been avoiding for so long, I take on a dangerous mission to free my twin. And then, all hell breaks loose. Pericles puts a bounty on my head, and he has unlimited resources to pursue me, and the rescue of my twin has pushed inter-kingdom hostilities to a tipping point. Suddenly, Fairy is on the brink of all-out war, which would mean almost certain death for my soldier father, and a life of slavery for my newfound twin. Fortunately, I have a war. There's just one little enter the Battle of Champions, best fighter, and it's a fight to the death. I was practically born with a sword in my hand and spent my youth defending opponents. But will it be enough in this battle with everything, including my life, on the line? The third book I have for you is called Banshee Blues by Belinda Sheehan. I have a simple arrangement with the fairy court. I track down the beings they want found, and in exchange for that, they let me live. But a girl's gotta eat, even a banished banshee. So I do what I have to, even if that means working for humans. Rent money doesn't grow on trees. Darcy Thorne is one of the last of her kind, a banshee, harbinger of death, but due to a past indiscretion which saw her imprison her ex-lover, she now works as a bounty hunter for the fairy court. When the court jerks her chain and tells her to hunt down Macnaw, an old friend, Darcy has no choice but to obey. Considering the last time she laid eyes on her prey, he tried to kill her, Darcy decides hunting him is the perfect mix of bitter. Dixie, ex-god boss, is all in a day's work for a bounty hunting banshee, but being shot with iron bullets and being framed for murder is above and beyond the call of duty. If Darcy doesn't get to the heart of the matter soon, there will be one less banshee in the world. And the last book I have for you is called Regeneration by Cassie Grootman. No one defies the Fairy Council until 16-year-old Trish Penchant comes along. An outsider with no family and no home, Trish has learned to keep her head down and her dangerous Fae blood a secret. But when she's discovered by the Fairy Council and forced to join a manhunt for a powerful fugitive, staying invisible is no longer an option. Her new team? The ex-boyfriend who just shot her and left her for dead, a boy with an uncanny tracking ability, and a cynical leader who's already betting on her failure. The Council's orders are clear. Catch the fugitive before he comes into his full powers, or pay the price. As Trish's own abilities grow stronger, she faces an impossible choice. Follow orders and go against her conscience, or fail and lose everything, including her foster parents, the first people who have ever shown her unconditional love. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
Those all sound so good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Those do sound fun.
Cool. Thank you so much, CL, for all the work you do on the Indie Connection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll just throw this out to anybody. We've heard a few cautionary tales already. What would be what's a red flag you've run into we'll start with Vanessa or CL, whichever. What's a red flag you've run into that you would definitely want to talk about? It's like, hey, definitely look out for this thing in your networking.
You mean in terms of like people? Like,
yeah, people.
I would probably I would watch for people who take more than they give. And because I mean, obviously, if somebody's newer, they're going to need more information, right? Obviously. But, I mean, I think we've all met that author who thinks they're the best, like Brian, I think was talking about, was it you, I think?
Yeah, yep, that was me.
Was talking about like there's always going to be somebody in any group of authors, there's always going to be somebody who thinks that they're actually better than they really are. And they can tear you down, because they're also the type of person who needs to put people down in order to feel good. And sometimes it's inadvertent, sometimes it's on purpose. But I probably would really caution everyone to just, use all the same skills you use out in the rest of the world. Just because somebody seems like they're successful to you does not mean that they are a good person for your network. So.
CO?
I would say some of the experiences I had before, especially when I was first starting out, is be careful who you trust. Someone can seem like they have your best interest in heart, and really they're trying to scam you, trying to make money off of you, trying to exploit you in some way, or trying to give you bad advice that is more like black cat methods or things that you really should not be doing. And there are some people that they'll go on social media, they'll change their name, they'll change their company name, and so it's kind of sometimes harder to find out if this person is trustworthy or not. And they even some people may even have a group of people fold, and there's plenty of people that will defend them. But really do your research when you're looking to partner up with someone, or if you're joining a contract with someone, if you're going to network with them in any way. Really do your research and make sure that this is a good fit for you and that it's not going to hurt your reputation. Because once something like that does happen, then you're attached to it and you have to kind of deal with repercussions of that. So just be careful who you trust and network wisely by talking to other people that you already trust. Make sure that you're well informed and have multiple sources before you kind of go ahead with something that would be a big risk for you.
Right. I think that's very good advice.
Choose your mentors well.
Yes.
Choose your mentors well. I was so grateful for Kendra and Ed Souter both really, really helped me to learn the business. Ed really helped me with the business side, and Kendra helped me with the writing side, and and then that boiled over to Katie Salidas, Joe Compton, those folks, how, and not to be afraid to call someone out or to just walk away. Choose your mentors well. That's really gonna save you from a lot. And because the thing is, you have to let your own instincts guide you. Don't be afraid of your instincts. Lean on them. We're inherently built with instincts and ideas of danger and social cues for a reason.
Yep.
Use them. And if someone tries to gaslight you and make you feel like you took something wrong, when in your heart of hearts you know what was said, or you know what was done, or you know what you saw and you just didn't like, then walk away. Don't be afraid of being true to yourself, but at the same token, you want to make sure that you have a good, strong balance, because there are people that are so arrogant that they don't want to listen to any sort of counsel. So
Yep.
be willing to stand up for yourself, but also know when someone's actually trying to help you.
Wayne?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a step back. I think we have to get back to what is the meaning of networking. You know, some people think networking is I'm going to meet as many people as I can, I'm going to learn everything I can, and I'm going to get all of this information and all of this stuff. And that doesn't last long term because you're seen as a taker and you're not providing value. You have to be willing to give as well as you get. And it's not always going to be equal, right? Somebody who is more experienced than you, more successful than you, may not need your advice on the business, but you can still say, hey, have you read this book or did you hear about this, right? Whereas if you are an experienced writer, it can feel like you're giving all the time and not getting what you need. I went through this not too long ago with my local writers group. I was feeling like I was giving all of this advice and talking to people and answering all these questions and not getting what I needed out of the group. And that dynamic has shifted a little bit, and I'm a little less grumpy about it these days. But networking is both giving and receiving. And so even if you are in the getting stage, right, where you're gathering information, you can still introduce people to people. You can still offer support and encouragement or say, hey, I really like this. That's the thing that networking is. It's not all one-way flow of information because that can get exhausting and really damage relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to actually follow on to this question by turning it on its head a little bit. When someone reaches out to you to try to extend their network, what do you look for? Like, I mean, a lot of us are happy to give advice to anybody, really. But what do you look for in someone that you're going to go into a more longer term networking relationship with? What do you look for in that person? Anybody, go ahead, throw out.
I mean, at that point, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I look for seriousness, really. Not, I don't like to have fun, but like, how serious are you about your writing? Because if you're really serious, then I'm happy to help, And I this also applies to my freelance editing as well, because I limit the clients I take, and if somebody's not serious about what they're doing, then I personally don't have the time to deal with it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be 100% sure that, I want to be a full-time writer. No, you just have to, for me anyway, you have to understand that you have a learning curve and you've got to learn things in order to become better. And are you willing to do that and put in the work? So that's what I kind of look for.
Other thought? Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that, seriousness in the situation. Me personally, as I tend to sometimes try to befriend people and then do that, but not everyone's like that. There are some people that are very, very businesslike and they're going to keep it straight business. So you got to know how to read the situation, read the person. But if it's going to be one of those instances of a sort of a prolonged networking thing, make sure that you have something to contribute at the same time, something that they have to contribute. It becomes networking is a symbiotic relationship. It should be anyway. It should never be one-sided. Should never, ever be one-sided. If you've got a person that is an editor, maybe they're not like me personally. Ed Souter edits all of my work, but I know quite a few people that are editors. I had a family member tell me that she has someone that she knows that started writing a book. First thing I did was I went to someone who's an editor and I explained this is the genre. They said, hey, I don't really edit that. You might want to look at someone else. I went to someone else that I knew and I made that connection. You know what I mean? It's something as small as that, you know, because when people in your everyday life find out that you're a writer, you're going to hear the same crap. Man, I wish I could write a book. How do I write a book? Hey, can you give me a book? No, I won't give you a book, but I can help you.
I give you an idea? Can I give you an idea and you can write it? We'll split it 50-50.
Yeah, and then it's like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Don't tell me anything that you have an idea on. Go away. Go write your own. But let them know, you know, hey, man, when you're done, I've got some people that I can at least hook you up with, you know, and just go from there. You know, all of my learning in this business has been just screwing up left, right, and center. I have screwed up way more than I've succeeded. And I'm okay with that because that's my journey. But in that, I'll just say, you know, make sure you are a two-sided relationship.
Wayne or CO?
I think a big part of it, and this sounds so obvious, is you got to maintain your emotional intelligence. You know, people in the arts, and I know it sounds weird to think about what I do on this plankton level as art, but the fact of the matter is we get so caught up in the work and we get so focused on what we're doing that we don't let our emotional intelligence take charge, right? If somebody approaches you and gives you feedback, are you able to accept that feedback and digest it properly? If somebody says, hey, can you help me? Can you introduce me to this person? Can you help me with this? Does your radar say, no, you're weird and I'm not going to risk my relationship by introducing you to this person? Or this person isn't the right person for you. You know, we need to take a step back from the work sometimes and look at it as a business, as a whole relationship, not just the work. Because with networking, it's really easy to work only with the people who love you and think you're brilliant. You know, you turn people on to your friends because they're your friends, not because they're the right person for that person. So we need to maintain our EQ, as the buzzword likes to say, in order to just stay sane and productive.
Gotcha. CO?
Going back to what Vanessa said, I always start out, well, first I start out with, is this a spammer? Because we all know how many spammers we get that are just like, you know, every day in our inbox. But first, you know, are they serious? Are they really going to commit to this? Are they not really, if are they being professional? I get plenty of people who are just like, hey, can you help me with this? But are they going to be respectful of your time and the boundaries that you set? Because you don't want to work with someone who is constantly, you know, emailing you for every little thing or messaging you for every little thing, and you can't do anything else because you do have your own time. So setting that boundary is really important. Also, I have a lot of people that come to me for marketing advice. I'm an editor. I do almost everything in publishing. So somebody's always coming to me for something, but you need to be able to know if you are a good fit for that person, because you won't always be someone who can help that person. And so another part of networking, especially in like being someone who offers services, is knowing other trusted services. So I'm like, hey, I don't know that, or I don't think I can help you with that right now. My schedule is full, but I recommend this person because I know that they do this and that they do a good job. So that's another part of the networking that kind of goes into it, is being able to say, well, I don't know, but here's someone who does.
Right.
And AL said it in the chat too, that different stages of your writing career, you have different aspects of what marketing is. You know, when you're new to the game, you're just hoping that somebody is gonna look at your stuff, right? But then later on, you're looking for different editors, maybe a particular editor, because not all editors are the same. You want to make sure that you have an editor that speaks your language, that understands what you're trying to get. You know, an editor that understands military tactics is going to be very, very important if you're writing a story that's even close to that. Where why would you go to a romance editor when you're writing a story about someone blowing shit up? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's different. So you want to make sure that you're marketing properly with what you need, and don't fall into the mistake that so many people on social media do. They get into certain groups, they turn into echo chambers. You don't want an echo chamber. You want people that are going to give you honest opinions without being hurtful. You know, a real friend isn't someone that tells you what you want to hear. A real friend, someone that has your success at heart, are going to give you truth from their perspective. You know, you don't want someone that just says, hey, everything you write is absolutely great, and it's really just, you know, a knockoff of like something that no one likes or is just bad. You know, you don't want that. You want to make sure that in your networking journey, you want to have quality. You want to make sure that you have quality at the end of the day, because that's the only way you become a better writer also.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep.
I will say that there is a place for those people who tell you your stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
They should not be the only people you listen to, though, because like we all need somebody to tell us our stuff is awesome. You know, like that is what helps keep us going, I think. So like, don't discount that altogether, but I agree. You don't want an echo chamber. You need people who are going to tell you where you're falling down, you know, and how to help you get back up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. So thank you everyone for being here and for this great discussion. I think it's been very useful. Hopefully people watch it, they'll get something out of it. So let's go ahead into our, we don't have a graphic for this, but into our Go Indie Minute. I think. Speak broadcast. Yay, yeah, we go. We do have a graphic.
Woo-hoo!
Hey, woo!
Hey, I know those guys on the far left.
All right.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this week, if you haven't seen it yet, check out episode 2 of Saving
a Seat.
The Saving Seat chat. Wait, do we have a graphic? Here we go. Saving a Seat. Saving Seat. There we go. Awesome.
I definitely know those guys. No hats, but I recognize them anywhere.
So Monday we have 21 grams with Jeffrey Nix.
Jeffrey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Nix.
That's going to be fun.
Oh, that should be good. We have interviews from the red. We're going to have interviews from the red carpet of Slam Dance. I know Joe was at Slam Dance, sporting very good, looking very good in his.
Where's the graphic
For Slam Dance? I don't think there is one. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, I wanted to see
I
Dapper
know,
Joe.
Right? It's like, dang.
Maybe Joe can add that. And then we have late night news coming up this Friday with Joe Compton and Vanessa Junta.
Oh,
so,
yeah, pretty cool, huh?
All
right. Awesome. So also we always highlight it every March. Our very own, well, he's not technically our very own, but he's here sometime. JD Estrada does March of the Writers, which began yesterday. So go check out on Instagram or other social media where JD is. That's up there. But this week we have for March of the Writers, the prompts. I'll read them real quick. Define yourself for March 2nd. March 3rd, tune up or enjoy the silence. I think that's going to be about, what music are you playing? Author rituals on the 4th. Sometimes we need to motivate ourselves. What rituals do you use to motivate yourself? March 5th, hallowed ground. Are there any locations that you have that have inspired your work? Any locations, real world locations that have inspired your work? Or if you're, a fan of Alderaan, rest in peace. Maybe that's inspired you. March the 6th, nooks and crannies. Where and when we get to write depends on the person, and we could have places that you're able to, grab words at. For me, it's really just a computer. the laptop. And I admire people who can write on phones or who can record things. It just never works for me. Yeah. Or handwriting. I had a discussion at RecCon about handwriting, and I'm like, I could never do that because I can't read my own handwriting. March 7th, Method to Your Madness, writing such curious process. We all have things that we do either as part of our plot holes, improving writing, things of that nature. And March 8th, that would be almost a week from now, your idea well. As a writer, one of the most important things we have is to capture ideas. How do you capture? What's your process for capturing ideas and putting them into practice? Okay. Are we ready for our epilogue?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Indeed.
I suppose we're here.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you're the host, dude. You tell me.
I'm just along for the ride.
Now we are ready. We are ready for our epilogue. Give me just a second here. Okay.
Assume
So,
the clothes, man.
So as we this is a newer game, not everyone necessarily be familiar with it. I'm going to ask questions, and we're going to eliminate people as we go. And the last person standing gets to give us when they get to there, and when you get to that part, will give us the it's always time to go indie now. Are we ready? Okay. And I'll call. Well, we'll go in order. So starting with Brian. What year? These are multiple choice questions. What year did the Oxford comma come into use?
Oh, Jesus.
1813, 1979, 2001, one of Vanessa's hard science fiction stories, 1905.
I'm going to say 18 something or whatever.
Okay. Wayne?
1905.
Okay. Vanessa?
I'm going to go with the 18 something.
I think 1905 for me.
CL, you what?
1905.
Okay, so yes, Wayne and CL are correct. It is 1905.
Good job, guys.
Way to
Huzzah.
go. Yep.
I
Meanwhile,
do
you're
the-
asking the guy who at earlier points overused the comma ridiculously. So, yeah.
Understood. Okay. So this is a bit of a genre question for Wayne and CL. Which character has not been converted to screen, either TV or movie? Conan, Red Sonja, Elric of Melniboné, or Cole? CL?
The second one.
Okay, so Red Sonja. Okay. Wayne?
Eldrick of whoever, because I've sadly seen all of those other movies.
As have I.
Elric is the only one who has not been screened. Okay, so
I knew
Wayne,
that.
you win.
So Wayne wins.
Yay!
Brigitte Nielsen.
If
of the
only I
80s.
could use my powers for good instead of evil.
Same.
That's correct. All right, folks, we're going to starting with CL. Tell everybody where you are on the web and how they can find you.
You can find me on clcanon.net or fictionatlas.com. I'm also on most social media except for Twitter and Snapchat. You find me on Blue Sky. I'm really active over there now, and I scroll on TikTok, but if you want to come over there and follow me, go ahead because I repost a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's it. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and contributing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Vanessa?
So you can find me, all my links and stuff on the sleekbio.com/Vanessa G, and that's Vanessa with an E. Also, I run, in terms of this topic, I run a writerly education and support group called The Writer's Troop. We are primarily on Facebook, Discord, and Twitch. I put the link in the chat, except it's not going to go through because links don't get to go through. So you can look it up on Facebook, The Writer's Troop, TROUPE, and that's it.
Awesome. Wayne?
WayneTrammell.com is a good place to find me. I interview other authors about their work as well as whine about my own. I am on Blue Sky. That's where I'm spending most of my social media these days, and Facebook. And that's it. I'm really excited to be networking with all of these writers.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you and Vanessa, thank you too for being here as well. Brian?
Yep, you can follow me on Blue Sky and Fanbase. That's pretty much all where I'm at author Brian Tan. I'm only on the Facebook Messenger for now, so if you never followed me before, probably easiest just to find me over there on Blue Sky and Fanbase.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm your host, SM Hillman. You can find me here as a host many weekends. You can find me as occasional panelist as well. I've got an indie RPG connection coming up in a few weeks. But you can also find me here as a host of Zero Means You're Dead and occasional GM and player on our actual play, Hit the Dice. I want to thank everybody for viewing live, or if you're viewing it later, please like and subscribe. We love the interaction. Leave a comment too. That's always helpful. And Wayne, take us out.
Well, by golly, it's always time to go indie now.